Welcome to the Life You Love podcast.
We're your hosts, Grace Lemire
and Erin Convertini.
This podcast is for the dreamers and the doers.
For the women who want to create a life they genuinely love waking up to.
We believe that life's short, so let's build one we love. We've been doing these bonus Q&A episodes the last couple of months to answer all of the questions you guys leave in Spotify throughout the month. Each episode covers a mix of topics, but it's a fun way for us to just chat with you guys more and answer questions you have after listening. As always, leave all of your questions in Spotify since we really use that as the place to source all of the questions. But with that, Erin, I want to kick us off with the first question.
Yeah, this is our second monthly Q&A episode, so I'm super excited about it. I will say, can you guys please leave us some juicier questions in Spotify, because I feel like we were super excited for this episode to really get into some juicy stuff. And then obviously naturally a lot of the questions were based on our previous episodes. So mindset related or discipline or whatever it may be, a lot of the topics we cover in our weekly episodes. But we want to talk about some juicy stuff. So ask us whatever you want to know.
We appreciate all of the questions you guys have left, but us saying this is your permission to give us juicier ones. Yes. Feel free to be nosy, be juicy, be what do you really want to know? You know what I mean? If you're don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. That's all we're saying. We appreciate the questions, but you can add some spice.
Because sometimes we get some good juicy questions on our Instagram stories whenever Grace and I individually do question stickers, but we do source all of these from Spotify. So we're really trying to pull what do you guys want to know? And maybe you don't want to know anything juicy and you only care about the stuff that we talk about in our weekly episodes, and maybe that's fine.
Also too, I was going to say, if you are wanting to ask a juicy question, but you're I just don't want people to be able to see it in Spotify, we can choose which comments get published on Spotify. So if you have a question and you're just question, but keep this private, you can say that in Spotify and we just won't publish it. We don't have to put it out there that you asked that question. So if that's what's holding you back, we got you. Okay. We got you.
For sure. Okay. With that, let's get into the first question. I actually really like this one. This person said, how do you identify what you can realistically accomplish each day/week? When tasks have real deadlines, I get them done. But when I have to make a deadline in order to break up a task, it's hard to motivate myself or I procrastinate.
So the thing that helped me the most with this, I don't run into the issue of, sometimes I definitely procrastinate tasks, but I'm the person who's always afraid I'm not going to have enough time. So I just want to get things done, boom, 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 boom. I don't have to set fake deadlines for myself necessarily, because I'm just always in fear that I'm not gonna have time. But one thing that's helped me a lot in scoping out my days and figuring out how much I can realistically accomplish, when I would make my to-do list, next to each item I would write in parentheses the amount of time I estimate that task will take me. And this helped me scope out my days in the beginning when I was freelancing and managing a bunch of clients, and I still do it to this day sometimes, because it helps me figure out, okay, for example, if we're going to film the podcast and I have 30 minutes, is there anything on my to-do list that will take me 15 to 30 minutes? I know I can't start a 2-hour task because I'm not going to finish it. And then I'm just going to be it's going to be hard to find momentum in that task if I'm going to have to stop so soon. But then I can just pick those ones that I know I have time for. But also it helps me scope my day, because I can say, okay, if I'm going to work an 8-hour day, I'll make sure my tasks are about 6 hours. That gives me a little bit of time for lunch. And then also just time for when you're I just need 10 minutes to just sit and do nothing, or if someone wants to hop on a call. So then I can space out my tasks to see that each day is about 6 hours of tasks. And then I also know when I'm at capacity, when I have 6 hours of tasks each day, then I can say okay, no, I can't take any more work on or stuff like that. But also finding when you like to do things, I think that also helps with getting it done without having to set some arbitrary deadline for yourself. If you don't find that motivating, I enjoy writing usually in the morning, so I will schedule that in the morning because then I'm more excited to get that done. But yeah.
I will say I'm a procrastinator at heart, 100%. This question really spoke to me because I'm the same way. If something has a deadline, if it's due today, I will get it done 10 times quicker than if it's due next week. And I'm no, I'm going to start on that today, right? So that is challenging for myself as well, especially as an entrepreneur and someone that works for myself. I'm always creating fake deadlines, and that is kind of hard to stick to. But something that's really helped me, and it's kind of similar to what you do, Grace, but I time block my day instead. So instead of assigning right beside the task in my planner, how much time it's going to take me, I assign it a time block. So what this usually looks like fully is at the beginning of the day. I usually spend like 20 to 30 minutes time blocking the rest of the day. So I have a little like calendar with the hour marks in my Notion planner. And I'm like, okay, from 9 to 10, I am going to work on project one. Then from 10 to 11, I'm going to work on project two. Then I have a meeting from 11 to 11:30, and I'm going to eat lunch and walk my dog from 12 to 1. So I know I'll probably have a little bit of time after my meeting, but I know that whatever I have this meeting about is probably going to give me some like rollover tasks, and I'll probably want to just like knock those out right after the meeting. So I'm not going to schedule anything in from 11:30 to 12. So that's kind of like my process, is looking at my to-do list and being like, when am I going to work on what? And what that's really helped me to do is like really get honest with myself about, one, how much time each task takes, but then also the discipline to be like, no, I assigned myself that task. So now this deadline is this hour, right? Because before I would just have like a big to do list and I wouldn't want to do any of it because it's not technically due today. But I'm like, oh, I'll just get to it later. And then I get to the end of the day and I'm like, what did I actually do today? So that's been a good way to kind of like assign myself fake deadlines and actually stick to them.
One thing I'll add too before we go to the next question, and this is like, this obviously won't apply to everyone, but when I started taking Fridays off, nothing else has lit a fire under my butt more, because if there are tasks that I'm like, oh, I could just push it later in the week and later in the week and later in the, I'm like, well, if you want to take Friday off, you need to get it done. Like, you need to be productive and focus and do the thing. So even if you set that, like, let's say you try to just like put all your tasks on a couple of days, or if you, yeah, create an arbitrary deadline, it might actually help motivate you. I know in this case, the person said that like the arbitrary deadline thing doesn't really work, but being like, okay, well, I need to get the same amount of stuff done in 4 days, not five. I move a lot swifter than I did before.
No, that's such a good point. I try to do that with myself too. I try to like make a challenge for myself at the beginning of the week to like see how much I can get done so that my productivity can decrease substantially as the week goes on. And that's a really good way to almost like view it as a challenge. Like, can I challenge myself to get these 6 hours worth of tasks done in only 4.5 hours today? You're probably going to find that, like, if you really dedicate to it, yes, you can. You're probably wasting a lot of time throughout your day. So I try to do that too. Like, Mondays are definitely my most productive day. I try to get so much done on Mondays so that by the time like Thursday and Friday roll around, I have either saved things that I genuinely like to do for the end of the week, or I'm kind of like, oh, my to-do list is like a little bit light right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next question is, what is the best physical change that you made this year?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I don't have like one specific answer for this. But I do have to say, in 2025, I think the biggest, looking back to where I was like end of 2024 versus where I'm at right now, I think one thing that's made a really big change in my life is I do a better job of putting myself together consistently every single day. Like right now, my hair is curled and I have like, I don't really wear a lot of makeup, but I have like the tinted moisturizer and the mascara on that I wear every day. And I have an outfit on. And I feel like in 2024 I didn't do a good job of this, and it's a change that I've like really stuck to in 2025, and it does do so much for your productivity, like not lounging around in sweatpants with your hair in like a messy bun, and if my hair is not washed, then like I just feel gross about myself. So I feel like that's probably a good one.
Dying because I'm literally in sweat shorts and a sweatshirt.
But your hair is clean,
No,
and that's like my,
my
yeah.
hair, it is clean. We did put it together. I had a slick back on yesterday or slick back in my hair because it was not clean. Guys, doing a slick back is so much harder than it looks.
It's
Like,
hard.
oh my gosh, I'm really trying to ace it. If you have any tips, I bought that wax stick that like everyone and their mother was using on TikTok. I don't know if I like it. I feel like I still look like greasy and weird in a slick back, but I'm trying. I want to be like the clean
I think
girl,
you're way
you
better
know?
at it than I am.
Really?
My flyaways are just everywhere, and then also getting the height to the right point is
Yeah,
really hard. Like if
it
it's too
is.
high or if it's too low, you're not
Because
going
then
to
the
look good.
back of my head looks actually, I feel like the back of my head's none of my business. I believe that to my core. I don't need to know what's going on back there, but I sometimes will catch like a side glimpse of my head in the mirror. This is a fun fact. This is just random because these are our Q&A episodes and we can be
And
unhinged
we
and
could do whatever
whatever.
we want
Yeah,
because this is
yeah,
our podcast.
because we own this. So no, but fun fact about me, I actually have like a huge flat spot on the top of my head. I've had it like always, like my head is literally completely flat here. I could rest a cup on it. So if I put like my hair in a bun, it has to be at the right height and the right position. Otherwise, it just does not sit right because my head's not round. It's literally flat. So like,
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So it's like another, so in case you ever
Okay.
were wondering about my head shape, now you know. If
Yeah.
you're a nurse or something listening, let me know if this is like a concern. Like, I'm like, should I go to the ER? But it's always been that way. But it impacts like where I can put my hairstyles because
Oh,
it looks like really dumb if it's like
that's
sitting
crazy.
on. Yeah, very strange. But anyways, if anyone has any tips, let a girl know. My best physical change, pivoting back to the question, my best physical change this year. We were talking about this before we got on because I was like clarifying what this question meant, but I'm like, I think maybe moving, like physically moving to Florida, but not for, I think for the reason that it proved to me and showed me so much more of what I'm capable of. I felt called to Florida and to St. Pete specifically. And I really had no idea why, and it didn't make a lot of sense because it was not somewhere that I really even considered on like my list of cities I was looking at initially. And I feel like the longer I'm here, the more I realize why I was called here. And I don't think it's my forever place. And I was just telling Erin before I got on here, which I've said this in other spaces as well. This has actually genuinely been like the worst year of my life. And I am not even like saying that to be joking or dramatic, but I don't, it doesn't have anything to do with Florida. It's just like the health stuff has been really taxing. So it's like I think the best part, maybe the best physical change was moving to Florida, but also that it's like when you look at everything that has happened after moving to Florida, not that hot, but I think just through all of that, I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned that I could probably move anywhere and find community and be comfortable. I learned that I can make anywhere feel like home. I've just learned like what I'm capable of and what I can do. Other factors. Someone left a comment on my video the other day and they were like, I don't remember exactly how they worded it, but they said something along the lines of like how they also have chronic health issues and how they have, I think they have a business as well, they said. And they were like, I've learned to look at it from the lens of look at everything I've been able to do despite all of like the pain that I've felt. So it's like, and I think moving to Florida has taught me that. And I don't think I would have realized that if I was still living at home in an environment that didn't push me in different ways or if it was just the same old environment, because I feel like you, when you're in the same environment, it's easy to like stop learning about yourself or stop challenging yourself. And I think this all, the way it's all unfolded has been a lot. But hopefully my surgery next month will be the best physical change, but I can't attest to that yet because
Yes.
we're
Yeah, I
praying.
think Florida was so good for you. Well, just like moving out of state was so good for you. I
Mm-hmm.
think like I don't want to go as far as saying like everyone needs to move out of state like at least once in their life, but I do have to say like moving to Nashville was really good for me for the same reason, and it taught me like that my physical location doesn't actually matter as much, and I am really happy with the move back to Pittsburgh. But I think I wouldn't be happy with moving into my house in Pittsburgh right now if I have only ever been in Pittsburgh, like if I didn't make that move to Nashville. So I feel like it's good for everyone, and it is really good to challenge yourself in those ways, and force yourself to make new friends and get into a new environment.
I feel like it's made me more, I don't want to say connected to self, kind of, in like, I have felt, I mean, this year has challenged me in so many ways. Like, I feel like it's really brought me to like the end of myself in a lot of ways. But I think it has given me a more sound sense of self, if that makes sense. Like, and I think that part of that comes from moving somewhere that you've never lived before, somewhere that it's a whole new environment, you're learning, you're kind of like fully on your own, you're meeting all new people. It's been like I was thinking to myself, because I don't really know what I'm going to do when my lease is up here. And I was like, I could totally move to another state and I'd be fine. And now I have the confidence. And I knew before I left, I'd be fine. I knew I'd make friends, all of that. But now, like, I really know that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I think I could move to literally any city and I would find positive in it. I'd build community. And that is such like a, almost like a grounding feeling. Grounded is like the word. I'm not the most grounded of individuals. I'll say that. But I mean, like, grounded. I'm actually crashing out like every 3 days, guys, but not crash out, but yeah. Anyways, I think I have a more grounded sense of self. Like I feel like my sense of self is stronger because of the challenges I've faced since moving to Florida. So not that Florida has caused those things, but like a lot of it's happened since I moved here. And I think it's because I can't just like run home to my parents or run home to something that feels familiar and safe. It's pushed me to have a more grounded sense of self to deal
Yeah,
with it, which is
I
nice.
love that. Okay, let's go to the next one. This person said, a question I have for the monthly bonus episode is about the opportunity cost in lifestyle decisions. As you developed your business and personal life, what did you decide not to do or buy so that you could afford the life you have now? As you've grown financially and can afford more, what is the internal dialogue behind saying no versus yes to things that you want?
Okay, starting with the first part of this question of like, as you developed your business and personal life, what did you decide not to do or buy so you could afford the life you have now? I've talked about this before, but in the first, I think it was 2.5 years, I lived at home after college for 2.5 years. I know that's a privilege and an opportunity that not everyone has. And I lived at home rent free at that. But I did that intentionally because I knew that I wanted to grow my business, and I knew that trying to make enough to run my or to pay rent and just try to like run a business was going to be very difficult. So I lived at home, and don't get me wrong, I wanted to live in like the city so bad. I wanted to be closer to young people and to just things. Like I lived far away from like the city, so it was not the most fun of places to be living at the time. And that was a sacrifice I made though, to be able to, because I knew it was like, okay, if I do this for now, I can put myself in a better situation. I also was very, I lived very frugally for a while. I would have the occasional splurge, but month over month, I was living very frugally, and I was throwing literally every extra penny I had onto my student loan debt. And I was able to pay off. I had $70,000 of student loan debt when I graduated college, and I paid it off in like 3.5 ish years. And I was very, like, I was very focused on that. And that put me in the position to be able to live the life that I have now where I'm debt free. But there's a lot that I wouldn't do because I knew that my financial goals were more important to me. And now that I can afford more, I feel like one thing that I am working on in general with just like saying yes and no, usually to like showing up to different things, is make your yes mean yes and your no mean no. And like, so when you say yes to something, it's because you actually like you mean it, and it's like you actually want that thing, or you want to be there or make that choice. And your no is like, yeah, like I just don't really want to do that. I think we often say yes to things that we really don't want to. And so I'm really thinking about, okay, like when I go to buy something or spend money somewhere, I'm thinking, is this something that I want? Or is it something that I feel like I should want, or something that other people want maybe, and that I feel obligated to spend my money on? But I'm also allowing myself to spend on things I enjoy more, which is something that my mom used to say this to me all the time, because we would go to the store, and or I would be like, oh, I really want this like shirt, and it's $30, and she'd be like, okay. She's like, Grace, how much did you make last month? Like when I was like just doing freelancing, not like influencing. And I was like, oh yeah, I made like 8,000 from freelancing. She's like, you can, Grace, she's like, you can afford a $30 shirt, girl. Like what, why are we hemming and hawing over a $30 shirt? Like just buy the shirt. Cause I was so like frugal, basically. Like I was not spending. And now that I can afford more, I'm learning to allow myself to spend more on that. So like redoing my closet and just like spending more. So that's kind of my like internal dialogue of like, am I actually saying yes to this because my yes means yes and I actually want that thing? Or am I saying yes because I feel like I should? And am I allowing myself to not just save every penny, but to like enjoy what I'm spending on? And if I think that that thing is something that's going to bring me joy and it's within reason to spend on it, then I'll spend on it.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely went through a phase where I had a very similar story with like when I was in the phase of building my financial foundation, that was my mindset as well. I didn't live at home. My parents lived like an hour and a half away from the city and I had a in-person job, so that wasn't super feasible. But I lived with multiple roommates for like 2.5 years post grad, and my rent was like less than $700 a month at the time. Like my rent was so cheap, and my student loans were frozen at the time because of COVID. And so my expenses were low, is like what I'm getting at. And I tried to live super frugally to be able to continue to build my financial foundation. I did a lot of work with that in college, but then continuing that into my adult life as well. But now I feel like I'm at a point where my financial foundation is built and I'm not necessarily super concerned with maximizing every single dollar at this point, which is the goal. Like don't want to get to, you don't want to stay in that for too long where you're like really diligent about where every single dollar goes. You feel like you can't leave your house. You're spending as little as possible in every single area. That's not the long-term goal. So I feel like I'm out of that phase of my life. But I will say the way that I kind of read this question was the opportunity cost with your lifestyle as it relates to your freedom of time. And that's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently is like, okay, realistically, I'm self employed. Realistically, how much control I have over my time is directly correlated with how much money I spend. If my monthly expenses, let's say, were like $3,000 a month, you don't need to make that much money in order to be able to sustain your monthly expenses and then still have a little bit of money left over to save or invest some money or whatever it may be. But if you're self-employed and you let your personal expenses get to a point where you're spending $10,000 to $15,000 a month, you have to make different choices. You have to say yes to different opportunities that might not be aligned. You have to make certain decisions in your business that might not give you much like time, freedom, and flexibility at all. And that's something that I've really thought of as I've become self-employed and am sustaining being self-employed is like my comfortable amount for monthly expenses is between five, maybe $6,000 a month, but not consistently $6,000 a month. It's really around that like $5,000 a month mark because that's a comfortable amount for me to be like, okay, I can sustain that with my business. I don't have to take on extra responsibilities within my business. But then also, if shit kind of hits the fan and I have to go get a W-2 job, is my lifestyle already set up to be able to sustain the amount of money that I'm spending monthly?
I feel like we answer this question differently, but I feel like it offers a lot of good perspective on both accords. Okay, next question is: do either of you? Just a random fun one, but do either of you like to thrift or vintage shop?
Okay, vintage shop. No, I feel like I don't have a good enough sense of style to vintage shop because
Mhm.
I feel like you really need to have some knowledge on like what's a good find and what's not a good find. And when I walk into vintage shops, I feel like I just see like old things. Like I don't appreciate it enough. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And a lot of vintage shops are really expensive because they are like antique and like this is really valuable. And I personally just don't have the knowledge to like know. But thrifting is really interesting. I feel like I go through phases where I like it more and less because it's like a hobby. Like you can't really go into a thrift store being like, I need to find like X, Y, and Z. You have to just like go in and like see what's there. So sometimes I'll go through phases where I'll like go to thrift stores like in my free time and just like see what I can find. But it's not something that I consistently like. If I look in my closet, probably under, I would say 10% of what's in my closet is thrifted.
Okay, for me, I also don't really vintage shop because I don't appreciate it's not that I don't appreciate old things, but like I
100% I don't either.
I'm not like, "Oh my gosh, this is from the 1940s." Like I love that. Like some people really love the history behind a piece. I don't really like it doesn't like excite me, but also like I'm not going to vintage shop for like furniture things like that because transporting it, I'm like how do I me trying to
Totally.
carry like I didn't do any like vintage shopping or thrift shopping whatever for my apartment because I feel like transporting pieces you find is just hard, but also it's so hit or miss. And then I think about like the time, like if I can spend 4 hours going to a bunch of vintage stores, I might not even find what I'm looking for. And then I still go home and like I don't have what I need and I just wasted 4 hours. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna buy like the thing from Wayfair or whatever. When it comes to like the furniture side, thrifting, guys, I feel like I should thrift more. And I know I talked about this in an episode I think recently where I want to get some more because I'm redoing my closet, not redoing, I'm like revamping it and like making it more my style. I want to get some sweaters that I can just like drape over my shoulders because I love that look. And I literally live in Florida. I'm not wearing sweaters like outside the house. It's just unless whenever it's like January, February, maybe, but I want to get ones that drape over my shoulders. I'm not gonna buy $120 sweater to drape over my shoulders. That just seems insane. So I'm like, okay, I could thrift them. But like you said, it's so hit or miss when you go to a thrift store. Like you just don't know what you're going to find. So when you're looking for something specific and it takes so much longer to find what you're looking for, also, I'm just going to say it. I am weird about germs. Like I don't like germs. Like I don't like to share a straw with a friend. I wouldn't even share like if like with my family, I'm like no, like you can if you want to sip of my drink, you need to get a fresh straw and put it
Wait,
in
that's so funny.
or I would literally take the cap. All my family knows this. If I had like a drink with a straw in it, like a coffee or something, I would literally take the cap off and they can drink out of the side of the thing, but you cannot put your mouth on my straw. I'm just like weird about it. I don't like shoes in my house. Like I don't if there's outside air that has touched my body, I will not get in my bed. Like so like I have to be clean. So I'm just weird about germs, and I feel like at thrift stores, if I go in, we all know like sometimes thrift stores don't smell that great, and like sometimes like you look at a piece of clothing and you're like that has seen some better days. I don't want to try it on when it's dirty in the store. The times I've gone thrifting, there's been a handful of times I have found pieces, bought them, bring them home, wash them immediately, and then I try them on and I don't really like how they look on me because I don't want to try them on in the store when they're dirty. If anyone has a good solution to this, let me know. I have thought about buying things on like ThredUp or on Curtsy. So like they are secondhand because I recognize the sustainability aspect of it too. But then they're like clean and like, I don't know, you can kind of be a little bit like pick and choose like brands and things like that a bit more. But it's just, I would love to be more into it. I feel like you find some cool pieces, but there are some factors that deter me.
Yeah, I definitely am limited in what I would even look through in a thrift store because it's also kind of overwhelming. Like I've never found a pair of pants because I'm tall and I need the long sizes of pants and you're never going to really find like I'm not digging through a million pairs of jeans to see if one pair is a long size. Like I'm just not. I have found like blazers are really good at thrift stores because I love like an oversized blazer. A couple of the ones in my closet are from a thrift store. And then the other thing is Facebook Marketplace. I made a TikTok video about this a couple of weeks ago. This is mainly for like furniture and stuff, and it's especially prevalent now because I'm trying to furnish my house. I am such a Facebook Marketplace scroller. I love scrolling on Facebook Marketplace, but the amount of times that I actually like follow through, which is like
Yeah.
really annoying of me, the amount of times that I actually follow through with like picking up the item is like very, very low. Like I'm the girl that will like send the message, the automated message that's like, is it
No.
available? And then if they
And
take
then you'll
three
just
days to
ghost.
respond, I'll just ghost. It's really bad. It's really
I
bad.
hate
I
people
know.
like you when I
Well,
sell things on Facebook.
I know it's so bad, but it's like in the moment, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I could get this from Facebook Marketplace. And then I think through logistically, like, okay, let me call my boyfriend and be like, can you please drive me? Because he has a really big car and I have a small car. So most things don't fit in my car. So like rallying him, driving to the other side of the city, some things are really far away. Like, logistically, I just don't end up buying things a lot on Facebook Marketplace. But I actually just picked something up last night. I was on Pinterest and I found like a really cute desk setup and it was an IKEA desk, like the Alex drawers with like the super long like wood table. And I was like, wait, that would be perfect. And then I opened Facebook Marketplace and the first listing that I see is this guy selling the exact same desk. So I was like, okay, I'll get it. I'm like, it's a
Yeah.
sign. And building those drawers are like literally terrible. So it comes
Hmm.
pre-built if you buy it secondhand. So I would like to buy more on Facebook Marketplace is what I'm trying to get at, but sometimes it's just a process.
Yeah, if anyone here, anyone listening is a avid like secondhand buyer, Facebook Marketplace shopper, thrifter, like genuinely please give me tips because A, it saves money and B, like it's good for sustainability and I would love to, but I feel like it's never been successful. So I will accept all of the tips. Okay. Next question is what is your backup career choice if this all doesn't work out?
Like this question because I think everyone's kind of thinking it, right? Like when you see people posting on social media, you're like, okay, what's your long-term plan? Or if the income kind of like starts to go away, what's your plan? And to that, I think our answer is probably relatively the same. It's that we're building skill sets just in a different industry. Like we know a lot about social media marketing, and that can be from the influencer side, that can be from the brand side. Like there's an entire $1 billion industry within the realm of social media management and so many jobs within that. We've both done work like on the brand side, whether it be like sourcing creators for campaigns, running the campaigns, whether that be like email marketing for brand. Like we have done so much on the brand side as well that if it got to a point where between like all of the things that I personally do between like freelancing and content creation, if I could no longer sustain my lifestyle with all of those things, I would just go look for a full-time job, or I would just go look to pick up like more freelancing gigs because there are a ton of freelancing gigs within the social media management space too, or social media marketing industry too.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, I would just get a full-time job, like in marketing. But if like social media went away, like as a whole, again, I would just get a full-time job, like in something else. I think like business admin or, I mean, yeah, marketing outside of social media, email marketing, paid ads. Like, I think there are plenty of opportunities that align with the skill sets that we're building that we could find them elsewhere. But even
Yeah,
some of the
and
stuff that I do now, like on the freelance side, doesn't even, I mean, I guess it involves, if you consider LinkedIn a social media platform, then like everything I do involves social media to some degree. But I feel like there are other things I've done in the past, like content writing for blogs and newsletters, which I still do newsletter writing, but the content writing for blogs is all about getting web traffic to the clients' websites. So, like, that has nothing to do with social media. And I would just do something like that.
yeah, and I think that's like absolute worst case scenario if like social media went away. That's the
Which I
kind
don't
of
think it
with
would
this
happen.
question. Yeah, I feel like with this question and why we wanted to bring it up is kind of like the idea of when you're doing something entrepreneurial. Yes, it's like quote unquote risky, right? However, you're almost way more diversified than you are when you have like one sole corporate job, right? Because like Grace and I both have like multiple streams of income. And like maybe if in 3 years, one platform becomes less popular, but like something else pops up and we don't necessarily like have a skill set in whatever else pops up. Like maybe our income takes a little bit of a dip, but we are relatively diversified where it's not just going to be like ripped away under you in like a second, right? Like your income might start to take a dip and like might start to trend downward and then you pivot and you get into something else. Whereas like when you have one sole 9 to 5 corporate job, you could get laid off tomorrow. And then, like, yes, you have a skill set too, but all of your income just went out the window. And now you need to look for a new job and start from square one.
Yeah, I think I've always said to people when it comes to, and we're just making the assumption that like this is the, like people ask this question because they're thinking about like the risk of having a business, or maybe it's just a pure curiosity. Like, what would you do if this wasn't your job? Like, if you had another job and you could pursue another career. But I think I've always felt more secure having being an entrepreneur because, and I would say this to my friends too, I'm like, if you have multiple streams of income and you're monitoring your, business revenue and expenses and whatever month over month, which you should be doing, then you're smart enough to notice if things start to go downhill to where you can stop it and be like, okay, I need to pull this lever over here to make some more money here, or take on another freelance client, or maybe grab a part-time job, or like what you can pull different levers in different ways to keep your business afloat versus there's not, when you have just one source of income, there's yeah, like you said, it could all go out the window in one fell swoop. But I think there's different levels of risk with every career that you have. And I think, I don't know,
Yeah.
if I like, if it was like not marketing at all, like if it was, if you mean like none of this worked out, like marketing did not work out, social media didn't work out, I would like maybe consider doing something travel related, or I would love to do, well, I guess that's marketing. I was going to say, I would love to work for a sports team doing their social media. Like, I would love, when like you see those videos of the football players where they're asking them these like silly questions. Like, I would love to do that. I think it would be really fun. I guess that is considered marketing though. I don't know, maybe travel, maybe being like a travel agent, or I like planning and like organizing things. So I think that like maybe that would be fun. I don't know, maybe be a barista. I feel like I'm the type of person who like I have so many interests that I
Yes.
think I could do a lot of things and be happy. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I also will say too, and if you just listen to our episode on, actually, I don't know when the episodes are coming out, but we just filmed an episode on setting financial goals. And in that, we talked a lot about financial freedom and like building your financial foundation. And I will also say the longer you go on in your financial journey, the less you worry about that stuff, if I'm being totally honest. If I was at a point where I had no assets, I had no emergency fund, I had no like anything built for myself financially, I probably would be a little bit worried about like, oh, well, what if my income takes a dip and I can no longer like put money into my emergency fund, or I could no longer do X, Y, and Z for my finances, or if I was still in a lot of debt, or if I had a lot of credit card debt, I probably would be a lot more worried about it as I am. But since I did a lot of work starting 7, 8 years ago to build my financial foundation, I'm a lot less stressed about that because a lot of those kind of like initial bases are covered, right? I have money in my retirement account. So if my income took a dip and I had to go 1 or 2 years without contributing to my retirement accounts, like it's probably not the biggest deal in the world. So I think that's something to keep in mind too. It's like that's what you're working toward. You're working toward having a financial foundation that's working for you behind the scenes to where you can take more calculated risks and you can not be as afraid of like those what ifs.
Absolutely. Okay. Last question. is what does episode prep for the podcast look like?
Okay, so as you know, we've been doing this for 100 episodes now, over 100 episodes. So we've been podcasting for a really long time, but I do feel like it's just been within the last like 3 or 4 months that we really started to nail like the episode prep process, which is really sad. So if you listen to some of our older episodes and you were like, you guys are losing the plot a little bit, it's because of this.
Because we
We
were.
used to literally not like we don't script our podcast episodes. We do an outline. So now we try to have like a framework for each episode, right? We'll have like sections and then we'll put bullet points under the sections to just kind of like guide us as we're going through. But before, we wouldn't even do that, and we would just kind of like show up and riff off of each other, and then sometimes that worked out and sometimes it was really bad. But now I feel like we're actually at a really good spot where like Grace and I can riff off of each other really well, like have the outline there to make sure that we're giving you guys like harsh value points, but then we're also allowing it to be chatty and conversational to really give it that personal element.
We also like some of the behind the scenes things. When we're prepping ideas, like coming up with ideas for episodes, I mean, we'll think about what is relevant at the time. So we're right now, this is the fourth podcast episode we've filmed in a day. I don't know the order in which they're going up, but you'll notice the episodes around this one, we're wearing the same stuff because we're batch filming right now. And one of the episodes we filmed recently was a Q4 reset, which I think will come out actually maybe after this episode goes up or maybe before. I don't know. That one, for example, we were like, okay, what is like relevant right now? Oh, we're going into Q4. Cool. That's Q4 reset. Other podcast ideas will be like, oh, we will look at DMs you guys send us or Spotify, like things. Again, this is the fourth episode we filmed today, guys.
You know, our
Please,
brains
I'm
are a
like
little
stuttering. We'll look at questions or comments you guys leave in Spotify and use that as episode ideas. Or we'll just be like, hey, this would be a cool idea. And then from there, what we did today, since we're filming 4 in one day, is like Erin took 2 of the episodes, I took 2 of the episodes, and we made the scripts and outline, or not scripts, the outlines for each one on our own. And then we came together and like added our own notes, because that way, since we're doing this all like async, we're not like typing on the same doc at the same time. Other times it will just like have separate sections. Like if we're doing like lessons we learned, like the top half will be like Erin's lessons, the bottom half are mine, and then we each just have our notes like as we're going through the episode, and we organize all of it in Notion. So we have a Notion content calendar, and there's cards for every day that on the day that we're going to film, there's a card for each like episode we're going to film, and we map it all out in there. We script out the intro and then put all of our like outlines and stuff, and then we have cards as well for the date that it's going to go up, so that because I schedule them, I'll write like the podcast like title and then put like the show notes in Notion, so everything's in one place. But yeah, the fact that we used to just like wing it and just show up and like hope for the best is actually so crazy, because even with an outline, sometimes I struggle to like, I'm like, what point am I trying to make here? Like, what is my thought? Like, and trying to get it out clearly. I don't know how sometimes I'm like, I should go listen to one of our old episodes.
no,
And
I
then
would never.
in a split second, I'm like, no, why would I do that? I don't need to feel bad about myself today, because
Absolutely not.
no.
And I will say, like, podcasting is hard.
It is hard.
Obviously, we talked in our lessons learned episode for our 100th episode about kind of like we're not really monetized yet, and like outside of that, it's hard to do. Like we show up and we talk for 45 minutes straight, really with no edits. The only edits that we make to these podcast episodes are when Bella starts barking, because I have a dog obviously, and she'll start barking halfway through and we'll have to like stop our train of thought and then like pick it back up. But outside of that, we literally just riff back and forth. There are 0 edits to these episodes, so it is kind of hard to like be on for 45 minutes straight. And also obviously if we do mess up, we could be like, okay, like let's stop and take a step back, but we really don't do that a lot at all. Maybe like once every 5 or 6 episodes, but like really not at all.
Yeah, I feel like the other difficult part is when Erin says something and then there's like another point, you have to think on the spot, because if you're filming a short form video, this is just like a behind the scenes thing. If you're filming a short form video on social media, you can script out what you're going to say. And so you can kind of think about your transitions. And even if you don't follow the script to a T when you're like talking to camera or something, you can kind of naturally think about the story you're telling because it's only you. And you know, you're making one point and it's like a minute long video. But yeah, when it's a 45-minute long episode and there's two people here, I don't know the exact way in which Erin is going to say something that ends the first section of our podcast. So as she's talking, I'm not only thinking about listening to what she's saying to understand it, I'm also listening to figure out how I can respond that in a way that naturally brings us into the next section, which is so hard. And it's something that like I'm not good at. Like I'll be like, absolutely. So next section. And like, you know what I mean? Because it's difficult. But I think part of the reason why we don't edit them all the time is like, and some of y'all have felt this way, which is really like affirming to hear, but we want this to be like a FaceTime kind of vibe where it's like, we're just two gals talking and you get to like learn a lot of things from it. I don't want it to be this like overly curated, like we're not going to sit here and script the podcast and read back and forth like that. It's just, that'd be weird. It's not our style. So I think it's like, this is what a real conversation between us sounds like. And yeah, we're going to cut out when Bella barks or if an ambulance goes by my apartment and it's super loud, whatever. But otherwise it's like, hey y'all, yep, that awkward transition between part one and part two, we're just going to keep that in because that's the reality.
We stutter over our words all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're really getting better and I am really proud of us of all the progress that we've made, but it is hard. Like it is hard. But I do feel like that's a good testament of like do things that you're not 100% good at first, because the only way that you're going to get good at it is by doing it more consistently. Grace and I were literally just saying before we got onto this episode that we want to take like a public speaking class, like how to speak 101, because we want to become more articulate speakers for the purpose of this podcast, and just life in general. I feel like you get so much further ahead when you can speak and articulate your thoughts properly. Yeah, I'm proud of us for the progress that we've made, but we still have a long way to go. So we appreciate you guys being patient with us. But with that, I think that brings us to the end of this little Q&A episode. If you guys do have more questions for the next Q&A, we release this at the last Friday of every single month. So the next one will be at the end of October. So if you have more questions, leave it in Spotify or you can DM us on Instagram. We do try to pull a lot of them from Spotify, but if there is something that you like absolutely don't want to be on Spotify, you can also DM us on Instagram as well. But with that, thanks for tuning into the podcast and until next week.